investigators have indicted 63 people after uncovering defense industry corruption worth more than $850 million. A political dispute over how to increase tax revenues amid increased government spending is mounting as the Vice Prime Minister apologized for inaccurate economic predictions. And the 15th Creative Economy Center has opened in Ulsan. President Park Geun-hye says it will transform shipbuilding and medical industries there. Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Thursday, July 16th. I'm Luke Clary. A joint government investigation team on defense industry corruption has uncovered shady dealings worth more than $850 million, indicting 63 people believed to be connected. The investigation is to continue until the end of this year as these crimes are emerging as more serious than expected.
A joint investigation team launched in last November to look into corruption scandals involving defense projects released its midterm findings on Wednesday. Over the past 7 months, the team discovered a number of bribery and corruption cases in the Korean Army, Navy, and Air Force and indicted 63 people involved. They found about 10 corruption cases involving the 3 major military branches. Those cases included supplying faulty equipment to the naval Tongyang and Sohae vessels, deficient electronic warfare training equipment to the Air Force, and flawed K-11 rifles to the Army. The combined worth of these corrupt projects exceeded $855 million, with the Navy topping the list with $733 million. It was also found that 2 employees of the Defense Security Command had leaked classified information to a weapons broker for about $435 at a time. The joint investigation team decided to extend its probe until the end of this year and look into illegal lobbying allegations involving high-ranking military officers.
Amid a parliamentary review of the government's extra budget proposal, a political dispute is mounting over how the government will increase tax revenues to make up for the increased spending. Vice Prime Minister Choi Kyung-hwan has apologized for the government's inaccurate economic predictions, which contributed to the problem.
The government's supplementary budget of more than $4.8 billion intended to make up for a shortage in tax revenues raised controversy with the National Assembly's Strategy and Finance Committee. Lawmakers argued that insufficient tax revenues are a result of the government's inaccurate economic predictions.
예측이 잘못됐다. 이 정도가 아니라 매년 40% 이상의 평균적으로 성장률 전망을 잘못하고 있다.
예측이라는 것은 참 늘 할 때마다 참으로 어렵습니다. 결과치가 차이가 많이 나게 된 것에 대해서는 다시 한번 송구스럽다는 말씀을 드리고요.
Vice Prime Minister Choi said that the government will revise laws to make large corporations pay more in taxes by reducing the exemptions and benefits they are currently entitled to. Choi met with parliamentary leaders of both the ruling and opposition parties and asked them to pass the government's original $10.2 billion budget bill. However, the leadership of the opposition camp repeatedly demanded a cut in additional tax revenues planned by the government.
The 15th Creative Economy Innovation Center has opened in Ulsan, where President Park Geun-hye said that the city will transform into an industrial cradle for the next generation of shipbuilding and medical automation industries.
At the opening ceremony of the Ulsan Creative Economy Innovation Center, President Park Geun-hye announced the vision to turn Ulsan into a world-leading hub for the next generation of the shipbuilding industry. She urged participants to spur on the development of smart and environment-friendly vessels by integrating traditional shipbuilding and environmental and IT technologies.
모든 조선 업체가 힘을 합쳐서 특허 개방을 통해 업계 전반에 기술력을 제고하고 국제 표준화를 선도해 나가야 할 것입니다.
She also asked industry leaders to take control of the global shipbuilding markets by 2020. The market for environment-friendly ships is expected to stand at about $70 billion, and that for smart vessels at $53 billion. The president then watched a demonstration of a robot surgically removing a tumor and remarked that Korea should actively enter the medical automation market. She then visited Ulsan's Taehwa market to give encouragement to merchants struggling from the prolonged economic downturn, asking for their help in energizing the local economy.
Amid falling smoking rates, the recent hike in cigarette prices appears to be an effective measure to help further discourage smoking. The drop in the smoking rate recorded over the last year is 6 times greater than the average decline in previous years.
Even on a weekday morning, this anti-smoking clinic is crowded with visitors. They've come to receive counseling in order to reduce spending on cigarettes and improve their health. Kim Bong-gi had smoked for 50 years, but he decided to kick the habit early this year. His resolution was firm, but he struggled to overcome the withdrawal symptoms.
담배 냄새 나니 어쩌니 집사람이나 딸내미들은 뭐 그런 소리 하니 좋죠.
Following a hike in cigarette prices, the number of people using anti-smoking clinics at community healthcare centers has doubled from last year. The smoking rate among men stands at 35% this year, down 5.8 percentage points from last year. The figure indicates that 1 out of 7 male smokers quit smoking over the past year. This amounts to a bigger drop in the number of smokers than recorded in the 5 years before. It is 6 times greater than the previous average rate. With the drop in cigarette consumption, the amount of tobacco on the market has also decreased by 34% compared to a year earlier. Despite the drop in the number of filtered cigarette smokers, the rate of men using electronic cigarettes has jumped from 2% in 2013 to 5.1%, driving the government to devise countermeasures.
A yacht returning to harbor from a sightseeing trip was swept up by high waves and ran aground. All 30 passengers and crew members on board were rescued, but it could very well have escalated into a tragic accident.
A half-capsized yacht is rocking precariously on the sea. Passengers waiting for rescue hurriedly jump onto an approaching boat. The 24-ton yacht ran aground when it was trying to enter a mooring.
파도가 높아지면서 아무래도 머리 한쪽으로 들어오니까 기울어지기 시작하더라고요. 그러면서 보트가 가까이 갔을 때 일단 승객들을 먼저 그쪽으로.
At the time of the accident, there were 30 people on board, 27 passengers and 3 crew members. The yacht company immediately sent a jet boat to rescue them. 16 people were treated for minor injuries, and the hull sustained damage in several places. The Coast Guard believes that the yacht, which was returning from a sightseeing trip, first collided into a seawall and was then swept by the waves, crashing into a rock and running aground. The waves were as high as 3 meters, but no high seas alerts were issued, which is why the yacht had gone ahead with the trip. Fortunately, no one was seriously hurt or killed thanks to the prompt response, but it could very well have turned into a disaster.
Foreign automakers are rapidly encroaching on the Korean market with diesel models. Domestic car makers are answering the challenge with the introduction of new homegrown diesel cars.
This is the newest version of Kia Motors' K5, arriving 5 years after the launch of the original. To appeal to different consumer categories, the new model will be offered in 2 different designs with 5 different types of engines. The diesel version, released for the first time, boasts fuel efficiency that rivals imported cars at 16.8 kilometers per liter.
작동 원리는 수동 변속기하고 비슷해서 연비적인 측면에서 경쟁차보다 월등하게 확보를 할 수가 있었습니다.
Hyundai Motor Company's new Sonata was launched early this month with 7 different engine options, including a diesel variant. In the compact SUV segment, SsangYong Motors released a diesel version of the Tivoli last week. GM Korea will introduce a diesel version of the Trax in the second half of this year. Domestic car makers' continued release of diesel models is an effort to address aggressive competition from foreign rivals. It remains to be seen whether diesel cars will help domestic automakers strike back against imports despite sluggish sales both at home and abroad.
The provincial tourism sector is among the hardest hit by the recent MERS outbreak. To get back on track, tourism companies are offering generous discounts vacationers can soon take advantage of.
The parking lot of this popular tourist site is not as full as it used to be in previous years. With the number of tourists plunging by more than half in the wake of the MERS outbreak, admission fees were cut by 10%.
학생 및 중국 단체, 기업 단체 등 많은 취소가 있었습니다. 그래서 이번에 할인 행사에 적극 동참하기로 하였습니다.
This deluxe hotel is offering a special deal to its guests for the first time during the summer season, the busiest time of the year in the industry. Guests will receive a complimentary buffet breakfast and a beer in the evening.
7월 초부터 다양한 혜택을 포함한 특별 패키지를 출시하여 고객들로부터 좋은 반응을 얻고 있으며 투숙률도 지난해와 비슷한 수준으로.
The tourism sector of Jeju Island has launched a so-called hot sale event that will last until August 31st. More than 200 tourism companies are participating in the event, offering discounts of up to 52%. Some places are even offering cars as a prize to tourists who visit Jeju Island. Tourism companies in Busan, for their part, have lowered deluxe hotel rates by up to 20%. The provincial tourism sector is scrambling to get back on track after the MERS outbreak.
Many people associate theatrical plays and musicals with large stage sets, but original performances that are staged these days increasingly use video technologies instead of stage sets to express their imagination.
King Yeonsan of the Joseon dynasty is remembered in history as a despot, but this theatrical play depicts a more humane side of his personality. Highly regarded as a classic of original plays, this performance premiered 20 years ago, but recently it was staged on a new set in line with the demands of the modern era. The large palace set that was used before to make the play look more realistic is now gone. It was replaced with a bamboo forest that symbolizes the palace.
굉장히 좀 현대적인 소재를 통해서 관객들이 이게 과거 얘기가 아니고 현대 얘기구나 하는 것을 좀 느끼게 해주고 싶었고.
The musical With God, which is based on a popular webtoon, expresses cartoonish imagination through visual effects. The musical impressively portrays life and death by depicting an imaginary hellish world and the idea of reincarnation using LED images. With stage sets continuing to evolve, symbolic stage sets that express imagination rather than mimic reality have emerged as a new trend in the performance arts.
Toilet paper and tissues are two favorite housewarming gifts in Korea. But it's hard to know what the right choice should be now that there are so many different varieties to choose from. Today, we'll find out more about facial tissues and toilet paper. The functions of household paper products vary by the kind of pulp used. The pulp type is divided largely into natural and recycled varieties. Natural pulp refers to materials obtained from nature, and recycled pulp comes from recycled printing paper or milk boxes. A test was conducted to find out how many particles are created by these paper products. Tissue made with natural pulp generate a lot of dust since they are made from unprocessed wood pulp, while those made with recycled pulp, which has already been processed once, showed less dust.
휴지의 먼지를 흡입할 경우 원래 앓고 계신 천식, 알레르기, 비염, 만성 기관지염 등의 질환이 악화될 수 있습니다.
However, recycled pulp may contain a fluorescent brightener. Fluorescent brightening agents are used to make paper products appear whiter. A piece of toilet paper is rubbed on the skin to measure how much fluorescent whitener remains on the skin surface. The blue dots shown under the ultraviolet light are the remnants. What kind of risks do continuous exposure to the whitening agent bring to the skin?
형광증백제는 그 재질을 좀 하얗게 보이게 하는 거죠. 그래서 이런 형광증백제가 계속적으로 접촉이 되면 접촉 피부염 같은 부작용을 일으킬 수 있습니다.
Facial tissue should be used only on the face and toilet paper in the bathroom. Now, skin irritation levels of toilet paper and facial tissue were compared by wiping the face with each one. As a result, the part of the face wiped with toilet paper turned red.
미용 티슈 같은 경우는 얼굴에 사용하시기 때문에 유분과 수분을 잘 닦아내고 유분과 수분에도 어느 정도의 강도를 유지해야 되며 부드럽게 만들고 있습니다.
Paper products are useful in our everyday lives, but remember to use a wide variety of facial tissues and toilet paper for the specific purposes they were made for. Now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. And that's it for this edition of News Today. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you again at the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.